they've made a number of catastrophic failures which are upsetting the people. I think peace, low taxes, small government, less intervention, put the power and the money back in the hands and the pockets of the people. That's really what conservatism is. It's about not having a large government pushing us all around, taking all the decisions for us, deciding where our money should be spent. Leave it to us. We'll do it better.
That's pretty much, I think, ticked all the boxes that I was expecting. So the next question is, how conservative is this Conservative government in your view?
It's well to the left of Tony Blair's government, unfortunately. And Tony Blair's government was pretty far to the left as it was. And the difficulty with moving to the left politically, particularly when you're approaching an election, is that people who want to vote left, realizing that the Tories themselves are going left, will say, well, why wait? Why not just go straight to Labour, the Liberal Communists and all the other political parties on the far left? Instead of voting Conservative. What the Conservatives should, in my view, do is get back to their roots. They've made a number of catastrophic failures which are upsetting the people. The obvious one you've just been talking about is the boats and people sailing in on every boat. And even if they weren't sailing on every boat, the number of legal immigrants is also outstripping all records, and yet the infrastructure of the country simply hasn't been built to handle so fast an influx in so short a time. This is a country which is remarkably friendly towards people of all races and nations who want to come here, and people have been perhaps taking too much advantage of that. The government has no coordinated strategy for dealing with that. Then you have the vexed question of global warming, where the government has taken a fanatically communistic position and has just announced today that it's going to order the national grid to connect more wind farms and solar panels, 14th century technology to fail to address a 21st century non-problem expensively.
Yes.
And in doing so, they have not realized that already the amount of wind and solar attached to the grid in nameplate capacity, which is the amount you can generate in ideal weather, already exceeds the total hourly demand on the grid. And therefore, if you add any more wind and solar to the grid, then you don't make any further reductions whatsoever in CO2 emissions. That's why the grid is dragging its feet. They know this. The government, unfortunately, which is entirely scientifically illiterate, doesn't.
Something such as this national conservatism event, Viscount Monckton, does it help the party or hinder it?
Well, I went to one the day before yesterday, which was the Conservative Democratic Organisation conference, at which we had proper security, so people didn't come in and disrupt the meeting. But I did talk to some of the communists outside, and they were led by a 21-year-old student communist who told me, yes, I am a communist, and I'm here to protest against capitalism, and therefore I'm protesting against the Conservative Party. And we had quite a long conversation. And inside the hall, on the other hand, there were people from all walks of life who were concerned at the drift of the Conservative Party in the direction of the far left and want to see the government getting a grip and doing so, if possible, in time for the next election. I think that such meetings are helpful. Certainly the meeting I was at was constructive, it was sensible, it wasn't extreme, it didn't make the sort of headlines that the left-wing media had hoped it would make. And I think these meetings are a very good idea to allow proper debate after really more than a decade in which the Conservative Party has not really been listening very much to its own members.
Last question before I have to go to the news. Do you think the Conservatives then are still in with a shout at the next general election? Most pollsters and organisations, not saying that Labour are going to do it on their own, but have written them off, Viscount Monckton.
I think the Conservatives need to pull a very large rabbit out of the hat. And there is one rabbit that they could pull straight out of the hat. I was talking to a very, very senior former constituency chairman who's been campaigning on doorsteps for more than 60 years and is deeply loved by his party. And he said, if they ditch the net zero nonsense and the climate change nonsense altogether, they will zoom into, he said the wokies will scream like anything, but they're not going to vote Conservative anyway. But
right.
everybody else who's got a heat pump or a motor car they want to keep, or they can't afford their electricity bill, or their company's being driven out to China by electricity prices that are 1/10 the price there that they are here, all of those are going to vote Conservative. That would give us the victory in one fell swoop.